everybody, my name is Leslie. I'm here. I'm trying to give you my experience, strength, and hope, be some sort of inspiration. I'm not saying I know everything. I hope that you take whatever you need from what I say and just leave the rest. But I just feel that everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses, and what makes us human and makes what brings us together, I guess, is a better way to put it, is, helping people where you're strong and relying on others where you're weak. So, so I hope this doesn't come across as, that I know everything or that you should even listen to me. This is just me having a calling to inspire people that are going through either similar situations or any other situation that's difficult, and let you know that there is always a bright side to everything. That's really what I've learned, especially this year, in the last year as a whole, that I know it's such a cliche that, the silver linings and all that stuff, but it's so true. That even when things are really difficult and it seems like you're just not going to get through it, that you've reached your bottom, it's a springboard for something greater. So I'm going to start by kind of talking about my childhood. I grew up in Houston, Texas. Still here. 2 parents, older brother, middle class neighborhood, middle class upbringing. Everything was fairly normal, up until I was in about 4th grade, and my dad started using heavy drugs. He worked in oil and gas, and was out of town a lot and developed a drug habit. A drug addiction is probably a better term. And struggled a lot, off and on. I don't know if he still does, but until my parents got divorced when I was 17 years old. So that was from about the time I was 9 to 17, was dealing with a parent in the house who struggled with hard drugs. And I made straight A's until around that time, and my grades really plummeted, and I was very social, had lots of friends, and that also stopped. I was a very happy child. That also stopped. And I learned some hard lessons really, really fast. Learned that, life as I knew it as a child was forever changed. There was a lot of issues moving forward. I developed an eating disorder in middle school, which was really difficult, something I still struggle with. I started smoking and drinking and smoking pot myself when I was about 12. And it didn't develop into an everyday habit until I was about 15 years old. By this time I was in high school and was very, very tiny, about 98 pounds in high school. Was also starting to cut myself. So as you can understand, there's lots of issues going on. Also having a parent still using in the house. A lot of attention was not put on me or my brother. It was really on trying to survive the situation, to be honest. I continued to use heavily. The people that I surrounded myself with at school were a lot different than who I surrounded myself with outside of school. Actually, some of the people I surrounded myself with at school were amazing and are amazing people. But once I got out of school, I kind of surrounded myself with a rougher crowd. I started using heavier drugs. Cocaine was my drug of choice. And it was just a miserable time. And when I was 16, me and my boyfriend at the time, who was also my supplier, broke up. And that was really difficult because I was getting my drugs for free, didn't have a job. So it was just, it was either figure out how to get those drugs or get sober. That did not happen. The sobriety did not happen for another maybe 8 months, or at least the attempt at sobriety. I went to a therapist about 8 months after me and my boyfriend at the time had broken up, because I was starting to feel suicidal, was starting to make plans, and I just kind of, as a last ditch effort, told my mom, I need to talk to somebody. So she brought me to a therapist, and I told the therapist that I was having issues, that I felt like I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. At this point, I kind of had a pretty good idea that I was an alcoholic or an addict, whatever that may be, whatever I was thinking at the time. I had tried numerous occasions to stop on my own, and all of them ended unsuccessfully. So I went to this therapist, and I discussed the fact that I thought I might be addicted to drugs and alcohol. I was underage, so she asked if we could disclose this to my mom, and I said yes. And so she, long story short, suggested a place called Palmer Drug Abuse Program, also known as PDAP. And I attempted my first go at sobriety. Lasted about a month. I only went to one meeting. Didn't really, I thought maybe that would just cure me. Obviously it didn't. And then I tried again after a month. Actually, my mom forced me to go back. And I stayed sober for about 6 months at a time, going to meetings. But it was just wasn't clicking. I started to be, feeling a little helpless, a little hopeless. And some of the people in this program really reached out to me and ultimately saved my life by really making an effort to engage with me. And I was at this point so antisocial, so lonely. I just needed someone to reach out, to believe in me, to even just be my friend. And that's what happened. I met some really amazing people, and I stayed sober another maybe 6 months. And so as you can see, off and on, just some using. But also a key component here is that you hear that I keep going back. I did not let the relapses, the falling down stop me. I got back up, I dusted myself off. I don't think I stayed out longer ever than a week. I just went back, admitted defeat, and went back. And then in my senior year of high school, so I'm about 17 years old at this point, I'm just still struggling. My parents at this point, they had separated and were in the process of getting a divorce. And my counselor at Palmer Drug Abuse Program confronted me on, I had scars from cutting, and I was continuing to cut. I was continuing to just be unhealthy, but go to meetings. which I mean, I think is pretty common. You know, it's not just you go to meetings and you're cured. You know, it is a process. And so at that point, I'm still very much engaged in my eating disorder, very much cutting. Anything I can do to control the situation, to feel some semblance of control. And that is something I still to this day struggle with, is just trying to control my surroundings, right? Because ultimately that's what my drug use and alcohol abuse were about, was trying to not have to feel, not have to feel that pain of everything that's going around me, you know? And I obviously can't do that anymore, or I'm trying not to do that anymore. And so I'm trying to control everything around me to feel some sort of peace. You know, anything that seems like it might be uncomfortable, that might cause me pain, I'm like, whoa, you know what I mean? So at this point, I'm trying to control everything, including my weight, including these heavy feelings that I'm feeling. So back to the story. I get confronted by my counselor, and they decided to put me into treatment. It was not specifically a drug and alcohol abuse treatment center. It was just a treatment center for adolescents, because at this point I'm still 17. I get treated. I think what they put it down under is an eating disorder, because at that point I'm still very, very tiny. I'm just not eating. So I get diagnosed as borderline personality disorder, which I do not have, by the way. They do all these tests and all this stuff, you know, and I'm put on medications for anxiety, for all this stuff. And I'm there for 2 weeks in outpatient. I was inpatient 1 week, outpatient 1 week. And I gained, I think in those 2 weeks, 30 pounds with this medication that they had me on. So imagine being anorexic and gaining 30 pounds in 2 weeks. It was very scary, very upsetting. But I mean, I didn't, you know, there's not much I could do. And so at this point, I was on a lot of different medications. I was taking, I think, 11 pills a day. So very, very over-medicated. I get out, I'm working on the not cutting. I'm definitely working on my sobriety. I think at this point, I relapsed maybe one more time. It was a month before I turned 18, April 3rd, year 2000. And that, guys, is my last sobriety date, April 3rd of 2000. So on April 3rd of this year, I got 20 years sober. And it was so hard. The first 5 years were touch and go. I can tell you what worked for me, and we'll go more in depth in maybe later videos if this continues. But every year of these 20 years has been a different reason for me continuing my sobriety. The first, I'd say 3 or 4 years, I think I asked on my sobriety birthday every year, when do I feel normal? Because I'm like, I still feel crazy, you know? And I just kept going to meetings. I would go sometimes every day, at least 3 or 4 times a week, but sometimes every day. I got sponsors, I worked the steps, I got sponsees, I worked them through the steps. I just really immersed myself in AA. And as time went on, it really became different things that, like I said, kept me sober. Sometimes it was just fear. I didn't want to go back to where I was. I didn't want to start over. It was a nightmare to even picture that, you know, just no. Sometimes it was a solid program. It was working my steps and staying God-centered, and a huge component for me was surrounding myself with people that supported my decision. And that has been very solid the whole 20 years. Is if someone wants to discount my sobriety, they're out. They're out. They don't have to be sober, but they have to support my decision. If you're going to question it, we're probably not meant to have a close relationship. And that is one thing that I have been so blessed, especially getting sober so young. I got sober a month before I turned 18, so I wasn't even allowed to be in a bar before I got sober. I have never questioned whether I was an addict. I've kind of wanted to, because I felt like everyone else that got sober young did. But I didn't need to. I was very aware and have continued to be shown in so many ways that I am a freaking addict in every way, shape, and form. So I am just so blessed that I haven't had to question that. It has just been in my face. And I am just wanting to, I guess my goal in this video today is to give you hope that I didn't work right off the bat. It took several times of relapsing, of being in pain, of being miserable to get sober. And I don't know if I will stay sober the rest of my life. God willing, I do. But it is a work in progress every day. It's not hard every day. The idea is simple. Don't drink, don't use. But and some days it's as simple as that. I have lost the desire to pick up a drink. I've lost the desire to use cocaine, to use weed, anything. I don't want to. Thank God. It took a while. But I don't want it. I don't want it. But there are days where life gets in my way, where I get in my way. And it is just all I can do to put one foot in front of the other. But what it boils down to for me is that this is the situations that come in my life are temporary, and it is up to me on how I'm going to perceive them, how I'm going to use them to springboard into a better situation. So I hope that I have inspired you in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. I really want to post more videos. If you have any questions for me, please reach out to me. But that's all for my first video. Thank you, and have a blessed day.